the rear window seal is leaking and it's starting to rust and it's starting to bother me. I'm gonna show you guys what it's looking like. It's looking bad. As you know, you got the seal, you got the body, everything's looking good until you come down here. It's starting to rust, which means water is getting in here and it's sitting. Starting here, you can obviously see that it is coming here as well. And it's bothering me. When I open this hatch, after it rains, water comes from here and it drips down and leaks, which tells me that this thing is holding water, water's getting in here, and that's not good. Especially because I just ordered a panel that is it has 2 pockets, like zipper pockets, and I want to put that in there, but I don't want to put that in there if I know that this hatch is leaking. We gotta take the window out. I'm gonna try to save this seal because the seal is it's only probably like 10, 12 years old and not 35 like the van is. So I'm gonna try to reuse this. Hopefully it's not too chewed up down here. You can see the seal and how I'm pulling it out and tucking it behind this piece of sheet metal. I'm gonna keep doing this all the way around. So I just kept pulling the seal around that lip like I was doing, and I eventually just started kind of pushing the window that way, and it's literally popping right out. So my brother just got home. I'm gonna have him help me take this thing all the way out. Honestly, it's super easy to take out. So you can see the rust all right here that's starting, and that's what we got to clean up. This is what we're working with here. Honestly, it's not as bad as I thought. I thought there might be holes in this just by the way it looked. We got the hatch inside. Here's the welder, and that little tiny hole I'm gonna fill in. And obviously I got the ground. I just re-ground the tungsten using a TIG welder, which isn't the best for body work, but this is just a small hole and I should be good. And it's the only welder I got. Ended up getting the settings right and pretty much just filled that thing in. Now I'm gonna grind it smooth, and then when I sandblast it, I'll be able to see if there's any holes or anything. Alright, so quick work with the grinder and got it pretty smooth. Gonna need very little Bondo or filler, probably just primer, honestly. So I don't know about this thing. It was buried up in the little storage thing, and I probably haven't touched this in like 8 years. So I'm definitely gonna have to go get more sand for that thing. But it's actually working pretty good. You can see all the sand in the grass. Here is the hatch. It's very weak and you have to take a long time. Like you have to rest on a spot for a while. If I had more pressure in the compressor, it would just blow this stuff clean off, but that's not the case here. So I think I'm gonna put this fan on this compressor right here because that thing is working like crazy and a little bit of airflow is not gonna hurt at all. So I think I'm gonna also take breaks like every 15-20 minutes just to let that compressor cool off because that thing's gonna be working. So I ran up to the store, got a couple bags of sand, and the only problem is the sand is soaking wet. So I got the sand out here drying. Luckily it's not that humid today. And yeah. Final product. There's a couple holes. Another hole, that's the biggest one, which that's going to be a pain to weld. Little one there, little guy there, and another one there. So I welded that one here. There's a little pinhole in it. I'm going to go back over it. Got all the backside done too. So yeah, we're just going to weld up these holes. I need to bring this thing inside and weld it up. Then I need to prep it, paint it, put it back on the van, and move on. So on my TIG welder, there is a pulse setting right here. That's a quick pulse. That's a little bit longer interval. That setting was awesome on this. I didn't use it till the second weld, but some of these I barely even have to grind. And there is some spots like that where it's kind of deeper, like the pitting, but it's not through. And I thought about hitting them, but then I was like, man, I'll get carried away when I get like over here and there's a bunch of spots. So I just hit the spots that were through, and now I gotta grind it. So the time has come and we have to prep the hatch. So it says 1 part phosphoric acid and 3 parts water. Got this little container here and these little measurements on it. I think I'm gonna use just a rag and wipe it on. Oh yeah, I ground them down. Did I show you guys that? I ground them down to where they're super nice and good. And I'm gonna try not to let this stuff run all the way down this thing. So I'm gonna wipe this down super well on the back side too. I definitely need to prep the inside as well. So the directions said to let this sit 15 to 30 minutes and then wash thoroughly with water. So I just sprayed it off with a hose. Actually, I used my old coolant pipes as a stand so it wasn't on that ground. Oh, and it's already starting to haze up and get a slight rust layer. So I'm gonna let this dry up super good, and then I'm gonna prep this super well, tape it off good, and we're gonna spray our first coat of primer on it. So 3 days later, this thing's been sitting here all weekend, and it kind of like rusted up a little bit, but I expected that from the acid that I used. And this has been sitting in the air conditioned, dehumidified air. So all of the water in this seam, if it got in there, I'm sure is out, because I had to wash it out because of the acid. I wanted to get it all off. These little areas, I need to try to feather that as much as I can and get it blended as well as I can. And then I'm gonna primer it, sand it, primer it, sand it, primer it, sand it, try to fill in all these little spots, try to fill in this, this edge and blend that as well as I can so you can't see it. It's kind of nice because it's pretty close to where the seal is and where this little body line is, this body line. So that's gonna kind of help like distract. It's not like it's right in the center of the panel. I would usually wet sand something like this, and the water keeps the sandpaper clean when you sand it, and it also washes all the paint and stuff away. But I don't want to wet sand this because that seam right there, I don't want water to get down in there, which is why this thing was sitting inside for days to dry out this seam. I'm gonna have to just sand this out the best I can, just dry. So I've been taping for probably the last like half hour, got it all taped off, and I got these edges kind of like rolled over so it'll blend in. Shaking up my Zinc Rich primer. This stuff is thick. So here it is, all hit with primer. I've been sanding my life away. Yeah, this is prepped and ready to go. And now I got this mess. Compressor's already on. Alright, well, overall, came out pretty good. So fast forward about 2 months, I got the window in and got the seal on. This is the original seal. I cleaned it out super good so there was no rust, like residue. There was a little bit of brown on the underside of the seal. And for the most part, I mean, I can tell that it's sealing up. It's definitely not leaking out of the hatch anymore like it was. I did get some silicone and I used the tip and I shoved it into the seal and I went all the way around, and my thought is it'll pretty much seal off. It'll be a second seal to seal off any kind of water or anything. I did read on this form that this guy was talking about these window seals, and he was saying how old Kenworth, I think, semi-trucks that had the same style of seal, and he said it only took a couple years, and the body was starting to rust out around all the windows, and he said the ones that he put silicone in the window seals would never come back and never have rust on them. So I figured I would do that with this, and like I said, I'll post that form in the link below, and you guys can look at that, research that if you want. But that's what I did. Figured I'd try it out, and so yeah, I got this thing all together. Everything looks good. It was pretty easy to get the seal in. I did it by myself with just the rope around the window seal and kind of placed it in there and pulled it, and it just kind of helped pull the seal around that body line, the lip where it's welded together. So that was super easy to do, and anyone could do that. Honestly, it's like nothing. So hopefully this video inspires you guys to fix your rust around your window seals, because if you don't, the rust will just become too bad and you won't be able to fix it.